Namaste, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. You're watching The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan, and we are coming to you live from the CNN News 18 Primetime Studio presented by Green Lamb Laminates. We begin this Thursday edition with big news coming through. For the first time in decades, the head of Pakistan's intelligence agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence or the ISI, is visiting Bangladesh with ISI Chief Lt Gen Asim Malik in Dhaka via Dubai, and this happened earlier in the week, where he was received by Lt Gen Mohammad Faizur Rahman, the Quartermaster General or QMG of the Bangladesh Army. And why this is a cause for worry. Bharat's foes are actually joining hands together to create an unstable neighborhood to plot infiltrations, aid terror, and destabilize our country. This exclusive input has been shared by our Security Affairs Editor Manoj Kumar Gupta, and according to intelligence sources telling Manoj and CNN News 18, the meeting is aimed to create intel sharing network between Pakistan and Bangladesh. This is the first time, for the first time in decades, that a Pak intelligence head has actually visited Dhaka. The agenda, Bharat believes, is to create trouble in the region, aid infiltration into Bharat, because the LOC penetration from the borders with Pakistan is becoming difficult, so they will use these porous borders to try and infiltrate. And as per intel sources, there are security concerns for Bharat along the eastern and northeastern regions. The ISI chief has met the Bangladesh Army general, who's considered close to Islamists working against Bharat. And as per intel sources to CNN News 18, Faizur Rahman has seen a meteoric rise soon after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. And he is seen to be in cahoots and very much in tango with the Jamaat-e-Islami Bangladesh. Now, CNN News 18 has also accessed exclusive intelligence input on this entire Bangladesh-Pak meeting. The ISI's motto is to keep the Bangladeshi student Islamists in hand, as they can delay the routine elections, and also has the capability to derail the Muhammad Yunus government when the situation turns against him. Pak ISI is aware that their stooge Khalida Zia is unwell and is not in a position to come back to power. So they want to try and continue to create this vacuum and prevent the Awami League from coming back. And out of all the Bangladeshi political parties, the Awami League has the most robust cadre and presence. The Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, the Ansarullah Bangla, some of the other outfits, and even Khalida Zia's party, BNP, does not have the kind of presence and cadre across Bangladesh. So the footprint is lacking. The ISI thereby is banking on radical Jamaat cadre to try and cozy up to Bangladesh again, and then push that entire narrative, revive the Razakars somewhere. Now, as per intel sources, ISI's main aim is to use the Jamaat cadre to create unrest, not just in Bangladesh, to try and seek quasi-control, but thereby also try and create problems for Bharat in our eastern parts and our northeastern parts. The ISI is actually plotting to aid the Bangladesh army in future to create an ISI-led or ISI-puppeted government in the future. And this growing collaboration between Dhaka and Islamabad also poses fresh challenges for regional security, particularly in Bharat's vulnerable northeastern states. Now, since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, the meetings between Yunus and Pak Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif at international summits have also raised eyebrows. Now, has Dhaka forgotten how Bharat helped the nation to liberate in 1971 from this clutches of very West Pakistan? That a big question. Has this been forgotten is what we ask? Or is it just the rise of those even then who had sympathies with the Pak army, who wanted a genocide, a demographic culling of Bengalis, mostly Hindus and Shia? Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow, ORF, with us. How do you see this? Faizur Rahman is someone who's seen close to the Islamist groups in Bangladesh. He is meeting General Malik, the head of the ISI.
So, Anand, I think most of the fears that we had when Sheikh Hasina was violently overthrown by an orchestrated mob. I think all those fears have come true. And unlike some Indian professors of economics who seem to root for this so-called Nobel Peace Laureate, uh, who has a dodgy past, uh, many of us were not convinced that he is the kind of person we can really work with. He is very silken in his language, but I think he harbors a lot of hatred for India and for the Hindus. He pretends otherwise, but that's besides the point. But I think it's important to understand that there has always been a Pakistan in Bangladeshis. Many Bangladeshis, despite the fact that they got butchered by the Punjabis in Pakistan, seem to look up to them maybe as some kind of superior. Only they wanted their own agency, which they got when Bangladesh was formed. But I think the sentiment in Bangladesh, which please remember that in 1905 the Muslim League was set up in Dhaka, and the Pakistan movement had a very strong footing in Bangladesh, or what is now Bangladesh, it's Pakistan. And frankly, I think that element has always been present. In the last 15 years of Sheikh Hasina's rule, that element had gone into the woodwork. Now it's come back out. And we've seen before Sheikh Hasina was in power, we've seen these people carry out many inimical actions against India in conjunction with Pakistan. There is that infamous Chittagong arms haul case where there were these 10 trucks full of weapons meant for separatist elements from the northeast. We know that many of the terror groups inside Bangladesh had Pakistani links and were operating inside India. Sorry, we know that Pakistan used the Bangladeshi route to infiltrate into India. We know all of that. All of that was happening. Sheikh Hasina clamped down on it. And the reason she did it was that she understood that it is better to cooperate with India rather than have a conflictual relationship with India. Now, the current dispensation in Bangladesh, I'm not talking about these radical students who are so-called advisors to the government. Most of them, forget it. I don't want to say something on a family channel. Right. But the fact is that they have to ask themselves with the kind of actions they are doing. Is this how they want to carve out a Bangladeshi identity in terms of not being India or in terms of hostility towards India, or does Bangladesh have an identity of its own? Number one. Number two, they have to understand that if they are going to do this kind of stuff, hobnob with the ISI. And when ISI talks about intelligence sharing or about cooperation on anti-terrorism, you know what it means. It means cooperating on spreading terrorism. Yeah. It means, carrying out sabotage activities against India, doing all kinds of other nefarious stuff against India. We know what that means, right? The Bangladeshis need to ask themselves that if they want to go down that road, of course there will be repercussions. There will be serious consequences for Bangladesh. And they need to ask themselves whether that serves the interests of the Bangladeshi people or whether a good cooperative relationship with India serves their interests better. Unfortunately, I think the Bangladeshis are not answering those questions. Maybe they're scared. But I think things are not looking good forward.
So, Shashank, all of this cannot be just the Pakistanis. Sometimes we give the Pakistanis and the ISI too much credit. They don't even deserve so much because they cannot act unless they have the big brother Uncle Sam backing them. And this has been seen oftentimes in the past. Now with the change in administration in the US, can we see some backing off on this front? Or does it remain in America's strategic interest to keep Pakistan and Bangladesh on the boil and to create or to do what they are doing? Because somewhere they also want to exact control and they want a footprint here, a permanent footprint here. American airbase and the need for it is a strategic thing beyond the Biden administration. And somewhere the regime change is attributed to that because Hasina did not kowtow to the Americans. So is Pakistan's involvement, their proximity, somewhere is there the American deep state involved?
Look, I think there was an involvement of the American deep state in the regime change which happened. Uh, and there were these dubious diplomats or ex-diplomats, Americans, who keep rooting for, Yunus and the rest of the bunch, and pretending as though these are some kind of poster boys of liberalism and progressive values, not taking into cognizance their very dubious links with terror organizations and radical organizations. All of that has been brushed under the carpet. But thankfully, most of those guys are no longer going to be part of the American system, or at least that's what one hopes. The problem with the Americans is they get into these kind of things and then they lose control over this game. Now, what is likely to happen is it's not going to be so much Uncle Sam, but Uncle Chen who is likely to move in and using the Pakistanis as their cat's paw. Now, the Pakistanis will again exploit the Bangladeshis because they think that they can open another front against India. But the consequences of that will be suffered by the people of Bangladesh and by the state of Bangladesh. Now, already we are seeing that the kind of policies they are following have created a lot of unrest within Bangladesh. It's starting. A lot of disruption has already happened. And we are seeing the impact of that on the Bangladesh economy. Their exports are falling, orders are drying up, all kinds of other things are happening. And remember, it's a one product economy. And if that one product starts, its market starts suffering, where do they go? Now, of course, the Chinese and the Pakistanis will keep leading them up the garden path as they always do. But what does Pakistan offer Bangladesh? Apart from destruction and devastation, what can Pakistan offer? Pakistan is competitive in two products. Polio, it's a world leader in the spread of polio. Terrorism. There is no third thing that Pakistan has to offer to the world. And unfortunately, if that is the direction in which Bangladesh wants to go, I can't stop Bangladesh from committing suicide. But I think what I need to start thinking about very, very seriously, and I think some action has started on that count, is how do I insulate myself from what is happening in Bangladesh? So we are still hopeful that better sense will dawn on the Bangladeshi authorities. But it doesn't, I think you can't build policy on hopes, unfortunately. And what is likely to happen is that given the kind of people who are running the show in Bangladesh, the army is divided. There are the Islamists or the anti-India elements, which may not be heading the army right now, but are in very powerful positions. I don't think the chief is really in a position to assert himself, even if he wanted to, assuming he wanted to. And within
but somewhere, I think one, I'm just saying India's fault and also Bangladesh under Sheikh Hasina that they allowed this current generation to forget 1971. Allowed the current generation in Bangladesh and Bharat also to forget a promise that Mujibur Rahman had made, that Bangladesh and Bengali people will never forget that it is Bharat Ma. Bharat is the Janani of Bangladesh. So this is something which also needs to, perhaps we need to reflect that why are they not continuing the narrative, the historic narrative, and India has never impressed upon the fact that that's a huge favor that we did on the people of Bangladesh, the Bangla people in Bangladesh. That be it the Sufi, be it the Shia, be it the Hindus, at all levels. Now this Punjabi Sunni issue which was there is history. How have they forgotten this history just in about 5 decades is another question. Sushantji,
allow me 2 sentences. Number one, you're talking about Janani. Bangladeshis are confused about who actually the father of the nation is. They commemorated Jinnah's birth anniversary, and some people called Jinnah the father of the nation. There are others who say Sheikh Mujib is the father of a nation. And still others who say Ziaur Rahman is the father of the nation. So they don't know who the father of the nation is. Number one. So you can make out what you want out of this child.
I'm just saying that we didn't impose on this nation, which is strategically important to us and its people, that they have to be, they need to remember that how they are. But you're also saying that perhaps that's a lot which perhaps will never give us credit or be indebted.
Allow me another.
Sir, I have to move on. Okay,
one sentence.
Okay, ठीक है.
The Bangladeshis have forgotten. What about us? There are so many people in India, people who were booted out of Pakistan, thrown out. Their their women were raped and murdered, and all kinds of things happened to them.
Yeah.
Many of those guys, some of them Khalistanis, are swearing by Pakistan today. So we have the memory of a goldfish.
Correct.
So does Bangladeshis have a memory of a goldfish. What's the big surprise in that?
No, I think that's something that we need to lament, and perhaps going forward, future course correct that nobody has this memory of a goldfish and they have elephantine memories. Sushantji, thank you. I have to move on because today is Parakram Divas, so there is politics around Subhash Chandra Bose. So have to move on. Thank you for your inputs. Always a pleasure speaking with you.